And we hear a lot about free energy and things like that. Is that something that you see happening perhaps starting
Yeah.
this year?
So I don't know exactly when it will happen, but that is something they've talked to me about before. So I do know that the free energies are coming. They recently, expect you probably heard on the video I did recently with Janine and Kelly Rivers, that they were talking about Tesla actually being built into houses so that houses could communicate with their neighbors,
Yeah,
so that
that's
if
amazing.
they had, say, a fall or something, your neighbor had a fall or a seizure or something like that, that the house next door would communicate with you, with your house, so you could go and give help. I thought that was fascinating. That was something they recently channeled to me. And that obviously having Tesla in the walls would create a vibration of healing at all times. So you would
Hmm.
be getting healed all the time. And so they were saying that you would age differently and that you would only die through the fact that your soul contract was completed, and not necessarily because you become ill and died of an illness. So I thought that was fascinating. So that was some technology that they've recently talked to me about.
That's crazy. So essentially, you will be. It's difficult to know because you don't know exactly what soul contracts you made with that you made
No.
you incarnated. But I would imagine that from one of the books that I read, that a person will leave the earth plane when they feel like either they've kind of completed it, or they're not going to complete it at all. So
Right. Oh,
I
that's
would,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it gives you a number of exit points, and
Yeah.
if it looks like you're not going to do the thing that you came here to do, then you will leave at
Oh,
through
okay. That's
some
interesting.
kind of means, and it could be anything. It could be an illness, it could be an accident, or it could be anything. But that's interesting that you say that, because essentially what it means is we would kind of be immortal in some ways, but
Yeah. I
not
know that is,
like you
yeah,
know.
because you wouldn't, I don't think anybody would want to live forever, actually. I don't know if you
But you
had the
wouldn't.
opportunity to live
You wouldn't
forever,
because
you wouldn't, would you actually want to?
probably
Yeah.
not.
That's an
Probably not.
interesting that's an interesting question, really, isn't it? Would you want to live to, say 300 years old if you had the opportunity? I wonder what people would say.
It depends. It depends on what you're doing with yourself. It depends on like I would say yes and no. It obviously it does depend, but if you've got this if you've discovered your life purpose, and you just want to keep giving and keep giving and keep impacting people, and you never want that to end, then I think eventually there will come a time in that on that journey where you will complete the thing that you came here to do. Like it might take 50 years, it might take 100 years, I don't know, but eventually you'll get to it, and you will have grown enough to be able to complete that thing, and then you will pass away, right?
So on the ascension pathway, what happens is um you you fulfill all your karmic debt, so you've got no more karma. So once you've surpassed all your karmic debt, you are then able to look at your soul lessons. And once you've fulfilled your soul lessons, then you're able to start what they call the ascension journey. Now, in the past, that meant that the Earth wasn't vibrating finely enough for us to stay on Earth, and it meant that we had to physically pass.
Mm.
So you couldn't ascend and stay on Earth. But now, because we vibrate differently as a planet, you can actually go into ascension and walk as an ascended master on Earth. And so your role is to serve as an ascended master. So I think that that's what the future will look like. People will just spiritually evolve, and they will all be walking around in life as ascended masters, where they're just serving through their light, because the soul contracts at that point now are finished.
Mm.
So, whereas before, when we thought we had died, we'd obviously just gone to another plane. Instead of us going to another plane, we'll just be continuing, but now it will just be on Earth rather than needing to go to another plane.
Right.
So that's just come to me while we've just been talking now. So
Okay.
in the past, We've obviously died to go and do service on a different plane, but now I think we will just continue on this level, because the vibration now is fine enough to be able for us to stay.
Yeah.
So eventually everyone will just be walking around like ascended masters.
Okay.
Ascended master just means that you hold a lot of light, that you've negated all your karma, and that you've learned all your lessons. So if that was the case, if that's how society is going to go, it will be a very peaceful planet, because everybody will be vibrating at a very high level. They will have sorted out all their karmic debt. They will have learned all their soul lessons. So they will all be quite peaceful and loving. And we should then get to this golden age, which is predicted in 2032, which is the age of love. This is where
Right.
people actually just walk around in humanity in a more peaceful, loving way. So things like war and illness and all these dark storylines that we've had to live through for hundreds and thousands of years will hopefully go back to a time like we had in Atlantis, where everything was more peaceful and we could manifest immediately, and we had technologies where they could levitate and move around. They could move around on rocks. So you could just sit on a rock and move around on a rock. So
Yeah.
I could see the whole concept of Earth going back to the time of Atlantis.
Right.
I really
And
could.
you see that happening in 11 years' time or so.
So I don't think it will happen on the year 2032, but I think that will be the beginning of it. So we're
Right.
at the moment, we are vibrationally going towards what they call the fifth dimension. So we're moving from third to fourth at the moment as a planet. And once we get to the fifth, which is in 2032, that's when those pure energies that I've just been talking about should then be available to everybody. We should all be vibrating at that level. And when everybody is vibrating at that level, then it can manifest that type of world that I've just said.
Right.
Obviously, why you've still got people where we are at the moment in still asleep and
Yeah.
still transitioning, you can't have that ideal perfect world yet,
No.
because you have to get everybody up to a certain level.
Does
So
that
2032 is like the beginning of that new world.
does that mean that, I mean, I know the Earth is moving through dimensions, but does
Yeah.
that mean that people have to do their own work as well? Or does that mean that as the Earth moves, then people's vibrations change? Or is it
It's a
part of
bit
both?
it's a bit of both, really. You've got the Galactic Federation sending light down, and you've got the Earth changing vibration, which is sending energy up, and we're in the middle of the two. So the change of the Earth's resonance and the light that we're being helped with from the Galactic Federation is helping everybody as sentient beings to raise their vibration. So some of the work is going to come from people feeling this coming into their bodies, like you did, where you suddenly just one day feel like nothing fits anymore. And that's because the light's coming in from above, and the vibration of the planet that we're living on is changing. So it's going to change us, because we're all energy. So if one energy changes, it affects another energy. So if the earth energy changes, it affects us, because we're energetic beings. So some of the work is happening because it's coming through the earth vibration and from the Galactic Federation, if that makes sense. So we do have help.
Right.
We have help.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously, yeah, because we're all connected. The more people that do the work, the faster it goes, and the more we bring out the other people around us as well.
There's a lot going on. So you've got the people that are on a spiritual path, like you and me. We are like the conduits between the Galactic Federation and the Earth, and we stand between the two like beacons, and we sort of link in, and then our vibration goes out and touches all the other people. So the people that are asleep around us, they feel it coming from us as well. So it's all interconnected. And it's a grid of light coming from all different directions.
Yeah.
And people like you and me are plugged into it. We're plugged into that grid, and we're helping the others that aren't ready yet to feel it as well, so that they will have an experience like you and I did at some point.
Yeah.
when they're ready.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
their soul is not ready, to do the work, then they will pass. Then they
Right.
won't come, they won't do it this time.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you again. It's been absolutely a fantastic hour and a half or so. And
Okay.
yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. You're very welcome.